This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Winners once again are our Milwaukee Brewers. Their third straight victory, have now won 7 of their last 8 games. Tonight's final 8-3 win over the Giants in game 2 of their 4-game series. Now 37-21 on the season. Hello, everyone. Welcome into another victorious edition of the Locked On Brewers Postcast. As always, I'm your host. My name is Brandon Sneide. You can follow me over on Twitter at Brandon_Sneide. A lot to get into. Kyle Harrison on the mound. We'll talk about the start from him. The offense coming on early and late in this game. We'll talk about that. We'll get in, of course, to the things we always get into, your player of the game, the things you'll be talking about tomorrow. And of course, we'll get into your thoughts, your reactions, your celebrations, and let your voice be heard on the Locked On Brewers Postcast player of the game. Kyle Harrison, option 1. Type in 1 for Kyle Harrison. 5 2/3 innings pitched, just the one solo home run to Willy Adames. He had 12 strikeouts, matches a career high. Jake Bauers had a 3-run homer in this game. He's option number 2. Type in 2 in the chat box. Yelich was 2 for 3, couple of runs batted in, and a clutch hit in that 8th inning with 2 outs for Christian Yelich. So he's your third option. And Bryce Terrain also in the option box at number 4 with 2 hits and a couple of runs batted in as well. Jackson Chura you could put on there. Again, you only get 4 options, so it can be limited, especially when you have 11 hits and score 8 runs. And speaking of those 8 runs, let's get into your scoring summary tonight as the Brewers beat the Giants by a final of 8-3. Kyle Harrison, as I mentioned, on the mound. Trevor McDonald on the mound for the San Francisco Giants. Kyle Harrison, a lot of pitches in the first inning, 27 to be exact. He did have a couple of strikeouts in that first inning, 1 hit in that top half of the first inning and a walk, but no damage across the board for Kyle Harrison. The bottom half of the first inning, though, tell me if you've heard this before. A leadoff walk comes around to score in an inning, whether the Brewers are on the mound or the Brewers are at the plate. Yelich with a leadoff walk. Jackson Chura would follow off with a walk of his own. So you had guys on first and second. Bryce Terrain, though, and William Contreras. Bryce Terrain striking out, William Contreras grounding out. The runners, Jackson Chura and Christian Yelich, would advance, but it really wouldn't matter where they advance as long as they stayed on the bases, because Jake Bauers, 412 feet to center field. The Brewers, once again, scoring runs with 2 outs. It's been the story of their season. So after that one hit, that whole 3-run shot from Jake Bauers, and obviously you had the 2 guys on base to begin the game, 3 runs crossing the plate for Kyle Harrison as he would make his way out to the second and have a clean second, a clean 3rd inning, a clean 4th inning. Before you knew it, after 4 innings pitched for Kyle Harrison, he had 10 strikeouts in the game. Like, it was just another fantastic performance from Kyle Harrison, which has almost become the norm when it comes to seeing Kyle Harrison on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers. You almost are getting to the point where you're expecting it for Kyle Harrison when he goes out into the mound, but it would kind of run its course a little bit. He had 12 strikeouts. He needed 1 more strikeout to get to a new career high. He had Willy Adames. I believe the count was 1-2. Willie would get the Giants on the board in the top half of the 6th inning, just escaping the left field fence there, 368 feet. That would make it 3-1. And then we got to go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. The Brewers once again adding on another run with a couple of outs. You had a Bryce Terrain single to right field that would score David Hamilton, who earlier in the inning also walked. So that would make it 4-1. Again, another run scoring with 2 outs. Just stay with me because it's going to be the theme of the show for tonight. So the Brewers would go to the top half of the 8th inning, up 4-1, and would get interesting for the Brewers in the top half of the 8th. Aaron Ashby still on the mound for the Brewers. Luis Arraez would have a double to right field. Willy Adames would ground out to shortstop. That would move Luis Arraez to third base, and then later on, Eldridge would come in as a pinch hitter. He would single to right. That would score Arraez. That would make it 4-2. Then you had another single to right field. That would move Eldridge to second, so runners on first and second. A Lee single to left field. That would score another run. So before you know it, you're kind of cruising along in this ball game. You're up 3-0. Didn't feel like a ton of runs, but it felt like a lot when you had Kyle Harrison on the mound. And again, it's not a very good Giants team that doesn't have a good win-loss record, doesn't have a good road record either. So you're feeling pretty good. But after that top half of the eighth, after 4 hits and 2 runs, you look up at the scoreboard, you're like, holy crap, it's a 4-3 ball game. Abner Uribe was in that top half of the eighth, giving up a couple of those runs. You're like, oh boy, like this all of a sudden kind of turned into a little bit of a game. But that was until the bottom half of the eighth, when the Brewers decided to come up to the plate and turn this game all the way around.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
The bottom half of the eighth inning, Garrett Mitchell leading off with a walk. Stay with me here. Garrett Mitchell leading off with a walk. Then you had a Sal Frelick infield single to third base. Then you had a really good Luis Rengifo sac bunt to third base. That would move Frelick to second, Garrett Mitchell to third. David Hamilton would strike out. So it's still 4-3. And then you got guys on second and third. And you had an opportunity with David Hamilton with guys on second and third to drive in at least one run, right? Get the ball put out in the outfield, put it in place somehow. And you're not, and for me, I don't know about for you, you go right back to that Houston series and you're like, oh God, no, like not with guys on second and third, less than 2 outs, and we can't bring home a run. But Christian Yelich, for whatever reason, with the first base still open, I guess they'd rather face Christian Yelich and Jackson Chourio. Hard to argue that. I know Rock on the television broadcast was perplexed at that, but I personally would, if I'm the opposing team, would rather pitch to Christian Yelich at this point so far than Jackson Chourio. So they did pitch to Yelich. He would knock in a single to right field, easily scoring Garrett Mitchell, easily scoring Sal Frelick. That would make it 6-3. Then if you're like me, you're taking a deep breath. You're like, okay, whew, we're back. But then Jackson Chourio would double to center field. That would score Christian Yelich from first. So that would make it 7-3. Jackson Chourio on second base. Bryce Terrain, a shot up the middle. That would score Jackson Chourio. That would make it 8-3. And that would be all that the Brewers would need, because Trevor Megill, once again, coming through in the top half of the ninth inning, needing 10 pitches, all 10 of them strikes for Trevor Megill, and making quick work of the Giants in that one with a strikeout and a pretty quick top half of the inning for the Milwaukee Brewers as they go on for the 8-3 win. Kyle Harrison getting the victory for the Brewers. 7-1, 5 2/3, 1 earned run, 12 strikeouts. We'll talk a little bit more about Kyle Harrison. Aaron Ashby got the hold in this one, an inning and a third. He had 3 hits allowed, 1 strikeout, 1 earned run. Abner Uribe, as I mentioned, couple of hits, a few hits, 3 to be exact, in 1 inning of work for Abner with 1 earned run. And then Trevor Megill shutting it down for the Milwaukee Brewers in this one as they go on for the 8-3 win. We got lots yet to get into. We'll talk about the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game. There's an active poll right now for you guys to vote. Kyle Harrison running away with it, 75% so far. So we'll check back in with that later on. The Brewers, though, have 11 hits on the night, 8 runs scored. So a good offensive night once again for the Brewers. And believe it or not, kind of like last night, I don't think I really necessarily mentioned that last night, a hit in every inning tonight for your Milwaukee Brewers. They did it last night. They did it once again tonight. So you want consistent offense. I get it. You're not putting crooked numbers up in every inning, right? You had 3 in the first, you had 4 in the 8th, 1 in the 7th, and it kind of, is dry in between the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But nonetheless, getting a hit in every inning in back-to-back games is good. You have 123 2-out runs. Remember, I talked about that kind of being the theme of the game tonight. All of your runs tonight coming with 2 outs in the game. So again, the Brewers just finding ways to get it done. It's not always pretty. It's not always easy at times when you talk about their offense, but they're finding ways to get it done, and their starting pitching is just dynamite. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game. We'll check back in with your guys' votes, the things you'll be talking about tomorrow, and of course, your thoughts, your reactions, your celebrations as the Brewers beat the Giants in Game 2 of their 4-game series. Tonight's final is 8-3. Today's show is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Cotton Candy. If you got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all of the sugar. That's why Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots bring that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is the classic cotton candy taste you will remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and 0 sugar. It's a quick and easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. And the flavor really does bring that throwback fruity vanilla vibe, and it's surprisingly smooth. And for me, I'm not sure about you guys, I'm always in a rush in the morning. I love how convenient it is too. It's a small portable shot. I can grab it as soon as I get ready, pull it out of the fridge, take it down, get in the truck, get to work. And whenever I need a little pick-me-up, it helps me get my day started and get going on the right foot. Bring down the sweetness with cotton candy 5-Hour Energy shots, available online right now at 5hourenergy.com or available over on Amazon. Thank you for making Locked On Brewers your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. An 8-3 victory for our Milwaukee Brewers, 37-21 now on the season. They beat the Giants in game 2 of their 4-game series. Obviously are going to go for the series win tomorrow, but they at least at the very bottom secure a series split. Obviously, that is not the goal for Pat Murphy and the Brewers, but nonetheless, in a 4-game series, the Brewers have taken the first 2 games. Kyle Harrison getting the victory tonight. The Brewers offense, a hit in every inning. They scored all of their runs tonight with 2 outs. They have 123 2-out runs. This third most as it sits until all the results go final tonight. Third most in Major League Baseball. So a good all-around game for the Milwaukee Brewers, for their pitching, for their offense. So let's get into it. The Locked On Brewers victory postcast player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
So the options out there for you guys are Kyle Harrison, Jake Bauers, Christian Yelich, Bryce Terrain. You got some other honorable mentions, I suppose, if you could throw in there. Garrett Mitchell had a pretty good night at the plate for the Milwaukee Brewers, 2 for 3. Sal Frelick, another couple of hits for Sal. That average starting to head north little by little for Sal Frelick, up to 225. And Jackson Chourio, obviously, also providing a little bit of a spark there in the 8th inning with that RBI double off of the wall and straightaway center field. He was also 2 for 4 with the run batted in, also scored a couple of runs for himself. But I think this one is almost unanimous across the board. You guys are also in lockstep with me. You have 78% going to Kyle Harrison. I'll give him 100% of my vote. Again, his 5th career game. He gets the victory tonight, 5 2/3, 12 strikeouts, 1 earned run, only 2 walks for Kyle Harrison, 7-1 now on the season. I mentioned the 12 strikeouts, 5th career game with 10 or more strikeouts, and it's a 3rd time he's done it this year. It's his 8th straight strikeouts during the course of this game for Kyle Harrison. 8 straight outs on strikeouts at one point for Kyle Harrison. Now, he didn't finish the 6th inning, but after the 5th, he had thrown 23 consecutive scoreless innings. He struck out 31 along that way and only walked 2 in that entire span. Now, he got 2 in the 6th inning, so we made it to 23rd and 2/3 scoreless innings. And then Willy Adames, of course, has to do what he does and breaks it up in the top half of the 6th. I guess if there's one guy you will allow a home run to be hit, I suppose it can be Willy Adames. So I'm going to go with Kyle Harrison. We're going to talk a little bit more about Kyle Harrison. I know a lot of you guys have some thoughts and reactions to Kyle Harrison from the start that he's had. Not only the start, but obviously what he's been able to do over the course of the entire season now for our Milwaukee Brewers. He gets my vote. Honorable mention, Jake Bauers, I thought was great. I thought given that 3-run shot right away in the top half or the bottom half of the 1st inning, I thought was kind of an underrated moment. Again, you allow your starting pitching, who's been really dominant, to go out there and have a 3-run lead going into the 2nd inning. Like, that's exactly what you needed, and that's exactly what Jake Bauers was able to do. So I got to give him an honorable mention at least on this one. Let's get into some of your thoughts, your reactions, your celebrations. Everydayer Jason, the guys have been digging in deep tonight. Great to see their response after giving up those runs. Go Brewers. A great response. I mean, it's just we've seen it time and time again with the Pat Murphy led team, right? Since he has taken over a few years now, every time the Brewers get punched in the mouth, they get right back up and they start swinging back. And that's exactly what they did tonight, right? You go into the bottom of the 8th, you're up 4-1. All of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard, it's holy crap, 4-3. We're 1 swing of the bat away from this game being tied. Like, they have to respond. And it, again, throwing up 4 runs in the bottom half of the 8th inning and completely putting this game out of reach after that inning. That's response. That's responding. That's what good teams do. Everydayer Cody says, I hope people appreciate what they are watching with Miz and Harrison and this run that the Brewers are on. They really need to get another bat, and I think this team goes deep. I'm going to hold the Harrison talk. Obviously, Jacob Mizorowski is in another world as well, and he's been absolutely fantastic and has been even better than I anticipated he would be, and has really, truly made that jump that we were hoping he would make. We're going to talk a little bit more about Kyle Harrison as well, to Cody's point, because he's absolutely right. Again, 12 strikeouts. He had 10, you guys, in the first 4 innings of this one. If his pitch count in that first inning isn't at 27 and maybe it's half of that, right? Let's say it's 14. He had 106 total pitches thrown. I would assume Pat Murphy probably lets him finish that 6. If I had to guess, and I suppose, things kind of, could have quickly have unraveled there, and maybe he didn't want that to happen for Kyle Harrison. But again, that first inning where he threw 27 pitches, that was kind of, getting the pitch count going in the wrong direction early on. Everydayer Charles says, holy clutch hitting. Yeah, shout out to Yelly, man. Yelly was that. 2 outs, guys on second and third, and Yelich, we saw Yelich in the Houston series on Sunday twice in that game where the Brewers won 2-0. They should have probably won 4-0, because twice in that Houston series, Yelich came up to the plate with guys on second and third, less than 2 outs, and wasn't able to deliver. And tonight, a huge one, a big sigh of relief in the Sneide household after he was able to get that 2-run RBI single to right field and help put the Brewers up. And from that moment forward, you knew they were going to walk away with a win. Everydayer Jennifer over on YouTube says, big win, was a little scary at points. Harrison was dominant, and the Brewers bats came through late. Go Crew. Any idea who pitches tomorrow? Could it be Coleman Crow? Your guess right now is as good as mine. The Brewers have it listed as TBD. Pat Murphy always talks when we're live, so if there's any of you guys that are watching social media or hearing what Pat Murphy is saying, you please feel free to break the news on the show. I don't know necessarily who it is going to be. I wouldn't be shocked necessarily if it was Coleman Crow, but I couldn't give you an honest answer as we're live immediately after the 8-3 Brewers win. Ryan over on YouTube says, my favorite 3 hours every day with the family. I love this team. I love that you're spending part of those 3 hours with your Brewers family, Ryan, right here on the Locked On Brewers, because I completely agree. It's been really fun, right? Winners of 7 of their last 8. They were one of the best teams in May. They've sort of kind of climbed in complete control of the National League Central Division. I know the Pirates are currently winning. I know the Cubs have lost. I'm searching as I'm talking, trying to buy a little bit of time to see if the St. Louis Cardinals, they did lose, so they lost to the Rangers, so the Brewers lead in the National League Central will continue to climb. GCAP and Everyday are over on the live YouTube chat. Says, what a game. Right as I was about to comment about leaving runners in scoring position tonight, the bats come alive. This is an exciting on another level. Got to keep it rolling for another long stretch of games and keep getting healthy. And that's the thing too. Like, right, you finally get some of these guys back, and I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence that, it's necessarily you start going on this run, right? Go back to that series where they split with the Cardinals in St. Louis, right? And that was the first series. You got Jackson Chourio and Andrew Vaughn back, and then Christian Yelich came back later on in that weekend in Minnesota. And from that moment forward, man, they've just been cruising. Like, I don't think that is a coincidence. Infinite Chicken back on the live YouTube chat. He was an everydayer last year. Hopefully they're back. Got excited at the end with Chourio hitting the double back to deep center field. Hopefully he starts hitting more bombs. It sounded off of the bat like that thing had no shot of staying in the ballpark. I was a little surprised that it was a play it should have been made by the center fielder, but I was shocked. I thought by the sound of it that ball was out of here, but nonetheless, I'll take the RBI double off of Jackson Chourio. And again, a couple more hits for Jackson tonight. We had a couple last night, so it's trending in the right direction. My guy, woodworking outdoorsman, back on the live YouTube chat, tunes into every show, but it's good to see you back on the live YouTube chat. As he says, Kyle Harrison just continues to impress. What a pickup. Yeah. You guys know how I feel about the Matt Arnold trade that he made for Caleb. It's not even, it's over. It's been over. It's certainly over. We can put it to rest. It's done. Matt Arnold completely dominated that trade. And as woodworking outdoorsman points out, Kyle Harrison, what a pickup. Before we get out of here after an 8-3 Brewers wins, 8-3 Brewer win, let's talk a little bit more about Kyle Harrison and what maybe he could be if it wasn't for what we already have.
This is what you'll be talking about.
if you think about it right now for Kyle Harrison and this run with the Milwaukee Brewers that he is currently on, 7-1. Again, what he did tonight, as you guys know, he ties a career high in strikeouts with 12. Was one strikeout away from 13. At one point in the game, he had 8 straight outs on strikeouts. It's his 5th career game with 10 or more strikeouts. The 3rd time he's done it this year, until he gave up that Willy Adames homer in the top half of the 6th with 2 outs, with 2 strikes too, by the way. He had thrown 23rd and 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings, striking out 31 of those guys and only walking 2 batters along the way. If it wasn't for the job that Jacob Misiorowski has done at this part of the season, if it wasn't the job that Christopher Sanchez has done in Philadelphia, guys, we're talking about right now the National League Cy Young leading candidate is probably Kyle Harrison. And I know everybody likes Tariq Skubal, and I know everybody wants to make that trade. Kyle Harrison, guys, is as good as it gets, man. A 1.57 ERA, a 2.4 WAR right now for Kyle Harrison. He's 7-1 on the season, 73 strikeouts, over 57 1/3 innings pitched. Again, and give credit to Christopher Sanchez, and I know I'm playing a little bit of the what if game, but if Jacob Misiorowski isn't off to the start that he's been off to, if Christopher Sanchez doesn't have the May that he had, as well as Jacob Misiorowski, we're talking about Kyle Harrison as being your Cy Young, probably real leading candidate and getting a lot of noise in the National League. I mean, he has been that good for the Milwaukee Brewers. He has been remarkable and historically good. I mean, when you talk about Kyle Harrison in the same conversation so far as CC Sabathia, which, by the way, that's why he wears number 52. I learned that tonight. Shout out to Sophia Minert from Brewers TV on the television broadcast. If it wasn't for those guys and the job they have done, and I know that's saying a lot because they've been fantastic, we're simply talking about Kyle Harrison being your leading candidate potentially in the National League. The Brewers have 2 right now. I understand everybody wants Tariq Skubal. I get it. In a perfect world, yes, sure. But man, what the Brewers have right now in this 1-2 punch is the best in baseball. As Kyle Harrison dominates, the Brewers offense finds their groove early and late in this one. They cruise on for the 8-3 win, 37-21 now on this season. That will conclude tonight's victorious edition of the Locked On Brewers postcast. Once again, as always, my thanks to each and every one of you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Brewers your first listen each and every single day. Could not do the show without you guys. You guys know how much you mean to me. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for always making us part of your day. And as always, wherever you guys get audio podcasts, we are free and available wherever you get them. Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you find them, you'll find Locked On Brewers. We're also free and available over on YouTube. So just make sure you are subscribed to the Locked On Brewers YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on our videos. Drop your thoughts on all our videos. Chuck's got you covered on the daily show. I got you covered on the post-game shows. And make sure the notification bell is clicked so you always get notified when we go live. We'll be live tomorrow after Game 3 between the Milwaukee Brewers and the San Francisco Giants. TBD so far for the Brewers starting pitching. Logan Webb on the mound for the San Francisco Giants. So it won't be an easy one for the Brewers, but we'll be talking about it nonetheless here on the Locked On Brewers postcast. Hope you will join me after the final out. As always, win or lose, it certainly feels good when Kyle Harrison shoves once again. The offense scatters 11 hits over 9 innings, scores 8 runs, and they cruise on for their 37th win. The Cubs lose, the Cardinals lose. A almost pitcher perfect night for your Brewers. It is always go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone. Talk to you again tomorrow. See you.